Okay, so how to mark supply and demand zones. We're gonna go over 2 to 3 major ways, probably just two. So marking, I'll just start writing this down. Marking supply, and demand zones. So number one is the preferred method. I think I'm spelling that right. Right. Number two is the extended version. Okay. And then last but not least is going to be the variations of the preferred, right? You can mark single candle, right? Via preferred or extended. And then you could also mark consolidation. Am I spelling that right? Consolidate. Yeah, I think so. Hopefully. If not, you guys get the point. Doesn't matter. Or preferred slash extended. Okay, so these are the ways to do it, right? We have essentially the two ways to mark a supply and demand zone. To put this very simple, you can mark it either with the preferred method or the extended method, right? The extended version of the method. Okay, and a perfect example would be like this right here. Okay, so we're on NQ1 here. Let me switch charts. Let me copy this. Copy, and then we're gonna go over to NAS 100 right over here, and then we'll just paste this here so you guys have this right there, and then we'll go mark a preferred demand zone or supply zone. So first thing we obviously look for in a strong level of supply and demand is a big push down in the market, right? So demand, you want a big push down. Supply, you want a big push up. And let's get rid of all of the clutter in the chart so we could just be, with a fresh slate. So this right here is the demand or the supply zone right here. There's a supply zone in this area. So with this method, since there's not much consolidation here, right? Normally how you would mark this is, right, you would grab this here and you would mark from the open to the close of the candle. So if you guys aren't like advanced enough for that yet, you won't understand this, right? But this is the open of the candle, and then this is the close on the top, because this is a bullish candle, and it'd be vice versa. So here we'd mark from the open to the close all the way up here, right? In the close, I mean the wick, right? So you mark from the open and then the top wick, and then you extend this out. And then this is what would normally be the supply zone. And let me edit this right here. I don't know why this is all the way down there. This would be my supply zone. Why is the color so odd? Should be like that is fine, but maybe go something like I don't know, like purple, and then put this up. All right, so yeah, that's cool. So then this is our supply zone. Okay, so the way that I mark this supply zone is the preferred, right? Preferred method. I hope I'm spelling that right. I feel like I'm spelling it wrong, but it's whatever. You guys understand the preferred, right? Basically, this is the most like tight, compact way to market. This usually will give you the highest risk to reward, but the contrast is that it might not be the best way to mark the zone. Okay, regardless, it still works. It just sometimes it might respect off of some structure like here and never end up tapping into here, and you miss the trade. But now this is the preferred method. Then off of the preferred method, we have the extended version. Okay, so the extended version literally just means marking from wick to wick. Normally we mark from one wick, which is the top side wick in a supply zone, and then for demand we mark the bottom side wick, right? So we mark from the open of the candle, the body, all the way to the top wick, right? And if this was a bearish candle, it'd be opposite. We would mark from here all the way down to the bottom wick, and then that would be the preferred. But the extended version literally just means that on the single candle that you're using for the supply zone, you just mark wick to wick, right? This is the extended version of marking it. Okay. Boom. So this is extended way to market. All right. Now we got that out of the way. That was the explanation for the single candle, preferred, and extended versions, right? And it would be the same vice versa for a strong level of demand. If I could find one here, let me see. This one's kind of bad because it's a really ugly candle. This one's horrible, huge wick. Maybe here, right? And then the band zone right here, and then this is a bullish candle, but whatever. You instead would normally how you would mark this is you'd mark from here to the bottom here, and then you'd extend this out. But then the extended version, you would just mark the top wick. Okay, guys. So that's how you would do it in this example. Okay. And that's single candle explanation. Okay, so then that's how you do it if you're marking supply off a single candle. But sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes what happens is that instead of there being like nice price action like you see here where it's going up and down, and then you have that rally and then that drop, sometimes you have a rally and a base and a drop, right? The market bases itself out, kind of consolidating, and then it has a big push down. So you need to identify the level of supply or demand and that consolidation. So how can you do that? So let's see if I could find a good example for this. So a good example for me, not this one. It's kind of odd. Let's see if I could look right here. Okay, so the price looks weird. Maybe it'll look better on a 1 hour. Let me actually cut to where I could find it looking pretty good. Okay, so there's actually a nicer one back here, so near the where we first did it. So how you would mark this one, and let's get rid of this one. This was the preferred one, and it looks different now, guys, because we're on a 1 hour. So we're doing this one on the 1 hour, but regardless, like if you could do that, you could implement exactly what I'm teaching on the 4 hour, or on the 15 minute, or on the 1 minute. Doesn't matter, right? But what happens here? You have that big drop, but then we have bearish candle, right? Usually we want to use a bullish candle before the drop on a single candle basis. And also, not only that, the criteria is off here too, because it's sideways moving market and then a drop. It wasn't a upward moving market like here, and then we have a drop, right? It's kind of consolidated and then a big drop. So what you do here is that you're not going to mark the single candle here, because if you mark the single candle and you mark the body to the top how you normally do it in the preferred method, the preferred method isn't all too great here. It's much too tight, and it wouldn't have worked, right? What you do here instead is you're going to mark the extended version or the preferred version, right? We'll give you the option right now of the multiple candles of the consolidation, right? But 9 times out of 10, when it comes to the consolidation, you're going to be using the extended version, because the highs and lows are so different. There's so much variation that you can't get away with using the preferred method, because in the preferred method, it doesn't matter how you want to mark it. You're only marking one candle. So you have a lot of liberty on where you choose to have this zone, right? Because it will fall in place. But when you're marking something like this, right, I can't just use the, I don't know, the top wicks and body, because we have a lot of wicks that stuck out on the bottom, and vice versa. If I try to just use the bodies, right, and then the bottom wicks, you end up having wicks that wicked out. So usually what you want to do with a consolidation zone that has a big drop, right, basically you could call it like a potential demand area, potential supply area. You want to use the bottom and top wicks of the range. But the key thing in this is you only want to use indecisive candles, right? Decisive candles is candles that are making a very certain move. They're rapidly moving down, or they're rapidly moving up, or they're at least stepping up, right? Step ups are like this, where candles aren't huge moves, but they're moving up gradually and they have volume in the candle. The volume is large. The wicks are moving towards its direction. As you see, the bullish candles have big bottom wicks. The bearish candles have large top wicks, right? Or at least their body closes on the bottom end of the candle, right? So here, what you want to do is before you even mark the zone, you want to, okay, this is my move down, right? This candle right here. So everything to the left is going to be the supply zone, but you have to decide until when. So this candle is indecisive, little volume. This candle is a little bit more of a step candle, but it has top and bottom wick. So that's good. Top and bottom wick, that's good. And then this one has very low volume. So these are all pretty good so far. The only problem is this candle. This candle is much too decisive and is not part of this analysis, you could say. So this candle right here is where you would stop. This would be the point where you're like, okay, I now know that everything that's to the right of this candle and before this big push is what I have to use to find the supply zone. And if we were talking about a demand zone, which basically you just take all this and flip it upside down, this would be where you're looking for your demand. Okay, so then now we know where we have to be looking. It's in between these two, right? So big key takeaway factor is keep counting to the left until you reach that candle that's much too big and much too decisive. And that's how you know, okay, the candle that I found that's too decisive, we can't use anything. We can't use that one or anything to the left of it. We could only use, you know, the ones to the right and the ones obviously before here. So all you do here is simply mark from the bottom wicks of the move, right? Which is this one right here. This one's around the same, but it's a little bit lower if you pay attention. And then we mark to the top wick, which is not here or here. It's here, right? But it's not here because this is part of the move down candle. This is the explosive candle. We don't use the explosive candle. We just use it to validate the zone, but we don't use it as part of the technical. Okay. We then mark all the way up to here and then boom, drag this out to the right. And then this right here is our level of supply. Okay. Then that's pretty much it, guys. Very simple. How you would have traded this is essentially you would have been on something like the 15-minute, right? And then we'll go back to here. Let me get, I've noticed I just had this on the right for a long time. Okay, so we're on the 15, and then we're going to go to where we have that level of supply. Move this out of the way. Okay, leave this right here. And then what happens? As you guys know, we wait for confirmation. Now, this has nothing to do with market supply and demand right now. This is the actual entry, but this isn't going to be part of the video that's on my course. This is most likely just going out to the Discord to answer a quick question. Because I care, you feel me? I'm that guy. I make videos for student questions. But essentially what you do now is that we had the supply zone marked. We didn't end up touching into it. Once we eventually did, what you want to validate is that there's two bearish candles like going down off of it, right? Exploding off of it. Okay. And in this scenario here, you shouldn't have been trading because this is all pre-market, right? You would have started your trading day most likely about here at 9 in the morning, and you would have been trading above it. Now remember, this zone is still usable. All you needed to wait for was a reaction off of here, right? Because at the end of the day, this right here is just a wick on a higher time frame, right? So you would have just waited for that entry, and obviously it's not the most attractive entry. Normally you'd want it to touch into here, and that's how you would look at it. It would be touching, and then you just find like some variation pattern. I usually like using like two back-to-back bearish candles to confirm that there's explosiveness off of it, there's a reaction. But essentially that's where you'd wait for. Here it was a little bit more of like a explosive move, like it was like a monumental move down in the market that day. But what you would have done is just waited for two back-to-back closures. I think right here, you should have made a decision. I would have not wanted to enter inside of the zone, but right here on this first 15 minutes, you could recognize how explosive the day was, even though it is a 9:30 open, right? It is very explosive, and you should have made the call of switching down to the 5-minute so you could actually look into these 15-minute candles and get your entry. So what I would have done is waited for my closure right here, right? This closure down here would have been my entry, right, of this candle. My stops would have been right above the level. And my take profit, I would go down, or I go up in this case, to the 1 hour. And I would look for a strong level that I could take a profit off of, which for me, that level would be right here, right? This is a double bottom we had here. Good time to take a profit. And then you'd be here. And then, like I always tell my students, what happens here? Here, you could take profit, leave the position, happy. You made profits that day. Let me turn up the opacity. It's like a little odd for me. I don't know if that's just my monitor that I changed the settings, but everything kind of looks, the colors look washed out. But here you could either take a profit, call it a day. You made 2.3%, depending on your risk factor. Obviously, I risk at least 1% trade. Normally, I risk 2%, but for simplicity's sake, I just talk about 1% because it's what I recommend to newer traders. But me, I would have made about 4.7% here on this trade. Happy is going to be amount, right? But I'm more experienced. So what I would have done in this situation, and you only do this if you're experienced, is you set your take profit to at least break even. What happens here? You've now reduced your risk to zero. The only thing you're risking is potential profits, but we risk that because we could possibly make much more, right? And you only do that if you're certain you can make more. And in this case, there's so much volume in the market. Doesn't matter that you're trading, that we're back testing this right now. I'm kind of just looking at it after the move happened. This is a very large move, guys. This is the first like literal hour, not even the first 30 minutes of the market open, and we've shot down this much, right? This is a lot. So here you should have made the call, okay, break even, and then you could keep holding the position up until the next level of structure, which you can find, which would be right over here, right? This is the next strong level of structure. Here's a little bit weak to me, but I guess you can consider this too. But this is pretty much like the ultimate level for me because it's kind of what started this big push up. You guys see here, right? So then this would be my next zone that I want to take a profit off of. So you could just put your take profit down to here, and then that's how you could have done the trade where your stops to break even, and you would have made 4.9%, risking 1%. Or what you could have done is you move this stop loss to the first take profit, right? Your first take profit is right here, a 1-to-1. Okay. So then your stop loss goes here. So then now if the trade loses and it comes up to here, you make $1,000. Okay. So then that effectively has secured yourself an extra $1,000 to play with. I then would have scaled into another position here, a short position with the stops right above the wicks here. Okay. And then my take profit the same down here. Okay. So worst case scenario in this position, I lose $1,000 on this one, but I make $1,000 on this one, still having a risk factor of 0. But my upside is much higher. I turned this original 2.3 RR position into a position that has netted me almost 5 RR here and almost 9.5 RR here, right? Essentially 15 RR. So we went from 2.5 RR basically to a 15 RR, right? We've effectively like 6x or 5 to 6x our profit, right? Off of just scaling into this position. This is a little bit besides the fact of the whole video, but I don't care. I want to drop the gem here because what use is me teaching you how to mark a supply and demand zone if I don't teach you at least a little bit on how to execute off of what I just taught you? This is how you should execute off of it. Obviously, there goes a lot more into it than just this, but this is something good that you could put in your back pocket and keep there for a while. But that's it for the video. Hopefully that was a good explanation on how to mark this stuff down. If it wasn't, let me know and I could remake it. I don't mind. But yeah, that's how to mark extended versus preferred zones on single candle and consolidation zones. So there you have it. Pretty much all you really need to know when it comes to marking supply and demand zones in this simple fashion. There are other ways to mark it, which I will teach in the future, but most of them are obsolete. You don't really find much use for them half of the time, but they will be good to know regardless in the future, and I will have that in the course. But this is just a quick little video on how to explain that stuff and how to actually start marking it down yourself. So yeah.